of us are familiar with the permanent diaconate program we have here in the diocese, and the wonderful men, and very often their wonderful spouses, who help sustain this program as they continue their faith journey, in a journey that ends up ministering in the church in a very public way. You're going to hear a little bit about this from Marty and Bev, but I want you to realize that not only are they the beneficiaries of a program, but also the diocese benefits by having to teach and form people. We often hear that the best way to learn something is to try and teach it. So the diocese is benefiting from our permanent diaconate for both the reasons of what we're able to give and keeps us fresh in our teaching, but also helps people in their faith journey, who then will help you in your journey.
I think everybody that thinks about a deacon or asks me about the diaconate always starts with the question, what does a deacon do? And I think formation has helped me understand it's not necessarily what a deacon does, it's what a deacon is. And that's what formation is really focused on, is understanding at a very deep level what a deacon is and not necessarily what he does. So it's not a list of things. Now we do see those things. We may see a deacon preach. We may see a deacon have a particular ministry at a parish or at the diocesan level. We may see a deacon marry a couple or bury a couple at a funeral. We certainly might see him assisting at the altar. But with all that said, the primary role of the deacon is to animate Christ the servant. The deacon animates in the larger congregation or into the assembly this icon of Jesus Christ the servant. I'm going back to 8th grade. I started thinking about the priesthood and met with Bishop Higgy back then with the diocese and affiliated, and he sent me to St. Meinrad in southern Indiana, where I spent 4 years. And at the end of those 4 years, it was pretty clear to me that priesthood was not for me and that there was maybe another path. So I finished my time at St. Meinrad, came back to Kokomo, where I'm from, and there I got a regular job and eventually met Bev through that job, and we eventually got married and had 2 daughters. But all along, I still had in the back of my mind there was something more. Not that it was just marriage, but it was there was something more in our marriage that we would eventually come around on.
You know, I think a lot of what I've witnessed is kind of Marty coming out of his shell a little bit. He's definitely the introvert. I'm definitely the extrovert. But learning that the gifts God has given him to mentor, to lead, to quietly serve, the diaconate gives him a place to do that. He just has a way to listen to people, to calm people, and to guide and nudge people with the mind of Christ.
Formation is a 6-year program now, not 5. I've been under the 5-year plan, but I attend class with professors from basically here in the diocese. That goes almost year-round. There's a pastoral dimension that would include internships such as hospital ministry. I'm currently involved in prison ministry. I've done some work at the tribunal. We have spiritual formation, and we also have spiritual direction. So on a monthly basis, I meet with my spiritual director here in the diocese, who's a priest of the diocese. And then on the human dimension, making sure that we can relate well to our parishioners, to those who we serve, and that we can be adjusted well in our community, be leaders in our community, and make sure that we build up the church rather than detract from it.
This journey is going to allow me to help serve, which is what we're called to do. And I can do it in a little different way than I could if we hadn't had this opportunity. So very thankful. My own faith has grown leaps and bounds. We pray together. We didn't really do that before. We went to Mass and we said our meal prayer, but we do evening prayer and night prayer together every day. Our lives are centered around what Masses are we attending for the day. So truly taking the Eucharist and the Word of Christ and making it a center of everything that we do.
I think formation does two things. Number one, it makes very clear to the candidate that it's not him acting, it's not him preaching, it's not him doing these things in the community, rather it's the Lord working through him. The other thing that formation does, that I think is more important than the doubt, is it removes the buts, the objections, I will do this, but I need to have this done too, the conditions that we sometimes place on our relationship with the Lord. So formation has allowed me to continue to challenge myself through my spiritual direction, through my studies, through my human dimension, to remove those conditions and set those aside and say, I'm ready to give a complete yes when those hands are laid upon me by the bishop. It's a complete yes.